The cream, yeah. The cream of the crop. And there is no one that does it better. Steele Savage.
Real.
On balance, off balance, doesn't matter. I'm better than you are, yeah. The cream of the crop. Nobody does it better.
26 promotions. Third Tires Racing, Steele Savage Radio, your source for your radio interviews, your video interviews, your pit interviews. Steele Savage Radio, 26 promotions. Third Tires Racing. With the Nabbo Rambo Bobby Steele and the gifter, Mr. Darren Ward.
What's up, Radio Land, Podcast Land, and all across the earth? It's the notorious, it's the rebellious, the man of the hour, Swinging himself, Nabbo Rambo Bobby Steele, coming to you guys live, loud, and proud on the station that rocks the nation, Steele Savage Radio, WCJMWC.com, Res Radio Rock, 90.3 FM, Fort Shane, Utah, yes! 30 Tires Racing is back in effect, guys. Season 3, the premiere, episode 1 here right now. And on the line here, guys, we got the very, very famous, the gifter, Mr. Darren Ward. What's going on, Darren?
Why do you always do this to me? I can't follow that energy. There's no way I can ever match your energy.
you can, dude. You can do it, Darren.
There aren't enough Red Bulls in the world for me to match your energy.
Well, you know what? It's going to be a good year for us. So you're going to have a lot of Red Bulls this year here right now, man. So
oh,
hey,
boy.
You know what? First of all, I want to congratulate you on a little one here right now that you got, man.
Yeah, speaking of energy drinks, I'm pretty much on a coffee and Red Bull diet lately, so that's been fun.
For sure, man. So 2019, man, let's just jump right into it, man. Everybody's been waiting here. You know, since we announced it this morning, a lot of people are saying, hell yeah, when is Gary coming on? So without further ado, guys, we got Mr. Gary Guinn on the line. What's going on, Gary?
Oh, not much, man. Just tearing apart sprint cars and getting ready to try to go play again.
Oh, man, hell yeah. Now, tearing apart their race car there. Whose car are actually tearing apart right now as we are speaking?
So right now, we just tore down today, actually. I tore down the car that I won in a raffle from Jesse Baker. So I've got Jesse Baker's car. Well, it was Bo's car, but it was their backup car. And, somehow we won it in the raffle. We're 2 for 2 on raffles, man.
That's what I was going to say, man. I got to go with you to the casino now, man.
You know, the funny thing is I've never had good luck at a casino. I've never had good luck, period, when it came to raffles or anything like that. And then all of a sudden my house burned down. I won 2 raffles, and I doubled my money one night at Buffalo Thunder. So I got to be doing something right.
I know, dude. Dude, I'm Native American, and I can't even win at my own casino, man. How fucked up is that?
that's terrible, man.
It is terrible. I think Darren Ward has a conspiracy out for me, huh, Darren?
I've never won. I've tried 50-50s. I've tried raffles. I've never won anything. And you've won 2 sprint cars in a span of a month or 2. That's crazy.
I know, man.
Yeah, within 30 days.
Well, that's really good, Gary. You've contributed a lot to the racing community here. You've done a lot. Great guy. And you deserve it, man. With a lot of hardship you went through the past 2 months here, man. And it sounds like that was more of like a freak accident on what happened here, because I know a lot of people are really wanting to know exactly what happened here. I hate to jump right into it, but that's what some of the people want to make sure that you're okay and what happened there, brother.
So, long story short, I was at work, and I got a call from Justin Zimke from Gardner Zimke, and he said, "Hey man, there's a big fire by your house." And I said, "There is?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, shit, where is it at?" He goes, "Well, it's right behind that ironworks company." And I said, "Shit, that's where my house is." He says, "Yeah, but it looks like a purple house is on fire." And I said, "Oh no, my house ain't purple. My house is tan." "Well, it must be further back." He goes, "No, it's right there, right by the ditch." I went, "Well, shit, Justin, that's my house." So apparently the fire had turned the tan paint purple. But anyway,
man.
so I jumped in the truck, and I said, well, I better head home. And I drove an hour to get there, and I got about halfway. I was in Isleta, and I got a phone call from my neighbor, and she said, hey, I can't be sure, but from the smoke, it doesn't look like there's anything left. And I got down there about an hour and a half to get to the fire. I had to tell a county sheriff that she could shoot me if she didn't want me going through a roadblock. And I got down there, and sure enough, the smoke, the wind kind of turned the direction, and the smoke was there, and there it was. There's where my house should have been was a pile of ashes and some still on fire. And I could see my shed, and that made me know that, well, crap, my house is gone. And then I started hoping that the race shop survives because the house is insured, the race cars aren't insured. And saw a fireman buddy of mine I went to high school with, and I said, hey, man, did the shop survive? And he goes, Gary, I tried like hell to save your house. He goes, but by the time we got here, it was almost too late. He goes, and with the wind, we just couldn't do anything. So then we tried to save the shop because I knew your race cars were in there. He goes, but he goes, it was kind of crazy. He goes, I knew the second your methanol lit because there was a big blue flame on the roof of your shop, shot up about 2 feet, and then dropped right back in and fell in on itself. And I said, oh, shit.
Damn.
So that night we got to go look at it, and, it was, there wasn't much, there's nothing left at all. If it wasn't steel, it's gone. The aluminum is all just puddles of aluminum. The rear end of the sprint car is just a big puddle, and it was pretty nasty, man. It really was. So, I told the wife, I said, I don't think we'll be able to race anytime soon. And she was okay with that because she didn't really want me to race much this year anyway because she's pregnant with our second.
Yes.
And she said, oh, now I got to take care of 2 kids because my son's due in early June into May. She goes, how am I supposed to take care of a newborn, a 5-year-old, and you at the racetrack? And I said, hell, I don't know, honey. So she was kind of okay with me not racing this year. And then I won a sprint car, and I said, well, I got to come up with a motor, so it'll be at least another year before I can race, honey. And then I won another sprint car. I said, well, honey, it'll still be another year before I can race. And then I got a motor halfway kind of given to me. It's one of these deals, go come pick it up, we'll figure it out later, fix it, put it together, put it in your phone with a race.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I should have that next week. And we should be going racing again. But, the cause of the fire, the official cause, was someone on the east side of the river took their ashes out from their fireplace the night before or the morning of. That's kind of unclear yet. And their ash pile, with the 40-mile-an-hour gusts we were getting, reignited and turned into a brush fire that then caught the river on fire. They then jumped the river, the Rio Grande, and burned 140 acres total.
Oh, man. I think a lot of people don't understand how the ashes, that happens on the res there when they had that big forest fire on the Navajo Reservation there with the people burning their weeds and stuff like that when they didn't put that out,
Right.
It makes me so mad, Got to put it out. Just because you cover it with dirt and stuff like that, it doesn't mean it's out. You're just literally just like keeping it warm and dormant there.
Yeah, these people just put an old road sign over it, according to the fire report.
Oh my God, man! Darren,
yeah, and the fire report even said that they said the sign just kind of helped incubate the heat, and it melted the sign a little bit before it took off,
Yeah.
So.
Wow, that's that's harsh, brother. Yeah. But I think a good thing about this is at least you kind of are managing around. I'm sure you're managing because you do a great job here right now with just keeping your head up and winning the 2 race cars. Getting some luck at the casino there. And you're talking to us live here on the air. So the positive part about here, is your spirit as a Native American. We always say, you got to keep your spirit strong. I'm pretty sure your spirit went to that other level now.
Well, it had to do something because normally I'm not as calm and cool and collected, and I'd have been screaming and pissed off at the world and wanting to fight the world. But something told me, you know what? No matter how pissed off you get, no matter how sad you get, no matter how down and depressed you get, it doesn't change a damn thing. So with that kind of in my mind, I just kind of, gritted my teeth and said, okay, well, there's only one way to go from here, So now it's just try to rebuild and try to gain back, what we lost and, try to get back into racing again. And, my mini sprint survived the fire, but the good folks at Kawasaki won't plug into it to tell me what's wrong with it because it's not in a bike anymore, so.
Yeah.
So the first time I had...
But I'd rather run a sprint car.
Go ahead, Darren.
So I think it was probably either the next day or within a couple of days of your fire. I saw someone, I think it might have been the guys over with NMRA, had posted something about it. And then within a couple of days after that, I believe it was JR Bonesteel who posted that he was going to raffle off his sprint car. And then within the last month or so, Jesse decided to raffle off his. Both of them decided to give you some sort of a donation with that money that they raised, and you ended up winning both of the sprint cars. How, after the fire, how much did the racing community kind of wrap their arms around you, and how did that make, how good does it feel to know that you go out and race these guys as hard as you can on Saturdays, and then when something, they're the first ones there to try to help you out?
It actually means the world. So it's kind of funny how that worked out, actually. I was telling my wife, had I not been a veteran, had I not been in the transit community, and had I not been a race car driver, we would have been up a creek. Because I think there's been like 4 different VFWs that, sent me checks and stuff like that, and are trying to raise money and get donations and stuff for me. And some of that was spearheaded by people we race with and people we know from the racetrack. And that did a lot. Uranium Capital Speedway sent us some stuff. Sandia Speedway here, they sent us a bunch of stuff, shirts and stuff, clothes and stuff. Dirt Racing Syndicate sent me a bunch of hats and hoodies, and for me and my wife, and T-shirts and stuff. And it was really the racing community that pulled together here locally to donated me a bunch of furniture and clothes and, food, things like that, because it was weird, the fire happened, and then all of a sudden you're sitting there going, wow, I've got whatever I've got left in my bank account and the clothes that are on my back, and that's all I've got, We just went to the store and bought $300 worth of groceries. You can't eat now, And they all kind of pulled together to make sure that, we got through the immediate, week that we stayed in the hotel, and we had clothes to wear. And then on top of that, a bunch of people went and just shared the hell out of the GoFundMe page. Drivers, crews, all those guys kind of pitched in on that. Then, of course, being part of the transit world, because I sell transit buses, those guys all kicked in too. And that GoFundMe page, I think we got like $20,000 in the GoFundMe. And,
wow.
On other folks that were affected by the same fire who weren't members of those communities, some of them got only $2,000. So it's huge for me, the fact that I was in such a community and involved with all these different people that were able to help us out without us even asking for it,
And I don't think, so for some people, the cliche tends to be that racing is a family, but I don't think people realize how much of a family it is, and without you having to even ask anyone for help, the first people that are going to be there to help you are the buddies that you race against every Saturday. Everyone wants to help out that fellow racer who's in need, and it was awesome to see, because it was the first time I think I had ever really heard about you. I saw it pop up from someone, and then literally within minutes, it was all I was seeing was the GoFundMe page and then the 2 race cars that were put up for raffle for you.
Yeah. And there's a few people that think that those raffles were rigged, honestly.
Oh man!
I promise they weren't. My buddy Bob had already planned on, as he won, he was going to give me the car anyway. And of course, he ended up winning Bone Steele's car. And then Jesse told me flat out, he goes, "Man, I was kind of hoping that it would have been someone else who was going to give you the car instead of you winning it fair and square. But, shit, that's just the way it happened. You won it fair and square." He goes, "But people are going to think I rigged it for you, man."
Well, maybe if Jesse Baker's listening right now, who knows? He might drive that car a little bit faster than Jesse now. What do you think?
Oh, I don't think so. So I had an old Buckley car as my sprint car, right? And it was the last year that Buck Buckley actually built cars that weren't Maxim copies. And everyone told me, even R.J. Johnson told me, he goes, "Man, that car, if you can get it to hook up, that's going to be one of the best cars you can ever drive non-wing." And, boy, I couldn't drive that car out of a wet paper bag. Too many years of driving modifieds and stock cars I had to work on that chicken muscle that somewhere between your groin and your right foot that just told me, "You're not going to make it through this corner, Gary. Don't go in that hard." So, I kind of started to figure it out by the last race of last year, and we were looking forward to practice and racing it this year. And now I've got these two cars, and I started helping Jerry Mosier and Jason Tanner. They went to Casa Grande a couple weeks ago to go run with the ASCS Southwest, and unfortunately he lost a motor down there. We came back, put the 305 in it, went and raced at Sandia here locally against the 360s, and didn't have a great showing. He had some fuel problems. The car got a little hot according to the gauge, so he pulled off. Turns out we just had air bubble in it. But anyway, during that whole deal of trying to help with the wing stuff, and I won this wing car, then I got the opportunity from Gary Mosier, with Mosier Racing. He says, "Gary, just bring the J&J wing car over here, and I'll help you get it all set up. And if we don't have your 360 done, we'll put my 305 in there, and you can go race." And he says, "But you got to go race wings." And I had never thought about racing wings before, but, it looks fun, so, hell, let's go give it a try,
So is that the plan, to go wing racing then? Is that the new plan, or are we going to do a little bit of both? What are we going to do with these two cars?
So for this year, for sure, we're gonna focus on running wing, because the wing car, we can basically put a motor in it and go run it. The non-wing car is at a point where it basically just needs the motor and the gear, and it could go run. But with the season's already started and everything, I figure, you know what, I'll wing this year, give it a try, see what I can do. Hell, maybe I'll like it more than the non-wing. But hopefully next year we'll have things figured out where we can run wing and non-wing.
That would be pretty good. Weren't you, did you have a young female driver that was supposed to start this year too, right?
Yeah, so she was going to run our cruiser. So a couple of years ago, I got rid of my modified, bought a mini Sprint and a cruiser, which to the rest of the world is kind of like a bomber. Stock as stock could be for the most part, but still a race car. And I put her in the car. She ran the car last year. She was going to run it for us this year. She decided that she wanted to own her own car and be able to drive her own car. So she went and bought a car. I had another driver who had never raced dirt before, but he had raced motocross and stuff, and he wanted to try out the stock car. So we were going to put him in the stock car. And actually, the day of the fire, had I not gotten a request for a quote for a bus, I was going to leave early, go home and load that car up on the trailer, put the other seat in it, and bring it up to the office the next morning so that way he could sit in the seat and make sure it fit him for practice that following weekend. And unfortunately, or I guess I should say fortunately, I didn't leave early, because had I been there when the fire got there, there'd probably just be a skeleton holding what was left of a garden hose trying to keep the shop from going up.
Yeah.
So
I should have laughed, but that sounds funny, an analogy there, man. I can see Gary too, man.
dude, you kidding me? I'd had the 4-wheeler hooked to the sprint car down the road, trying to get everything else out of there. You know, I probably would have went up. And actually, the fire department told us it was a good thing we weren't at home because the speed that the fire moved across that open lot behind my house. There's an old horse ranch behind my house. There's like 60 acres. It's just barren. And the speed that it moved across that, they said, you know, if you guys would have been in the house, you probably wouldn't have known that the fire was there due to the wind until you smelled the smoke or the house was on fire. And so it's a good thing we weren't home. My neighbor told me it took about 10 minutes from the time that he saw smoke on our side of the river until my house was engulfed in flames. So.
Oh my God, 10 minutes, man! That's
wow.
That's a lot there. I guess all that dry brush around there too. I'm guessing too as well. But I remember that day though, man. The wind was angry that day. It was wind everywhere.
Oh yeah,
stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what's really screwed up is there was one prick that doesn't like me from back in the Uranium Capital stock car days. And why he doesn't like me is still kind of a half-assed mystery to me, to be all honest. But that son of a bitch went over to my house and was filming, did a whole Facebook video saying how he had witnesses that saw me out there burning my weeds and there was an East Canyon wind that day. I'm like, dude, look at the damn history of the day, and you'll see that the wind never blew from the east that day. It was ripping from west or from east to west all day long, you know? So
hey, that's fucked up.
Beware what you see on the internet, because, you know, there's some idiots out there.
Yeah, for sure, man. That's crazy. I mean, how could you do that to somebody when you know that, you know, basically everything they have is gone, you know, just try to rub it in their face? That's some bullshit there, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, but, you know, hey, karma's a bitch, you know?
I think they need a machine gun. What do you say? Here, there it is right now.
Like I said, karma's a bitch, you know? And you put out negative vibes in the world, and they'll come back on you one way or another.
We'll do a couple of pop shots in there here right now. For the audience out there. Okay, it's just the sound effects, guys. We're not saying we're gonna get militia out there. We're just doing little sound effects there, guys. So, but hey, Gary, you know what? Now, I met you the very first time last year at Uranium Capital Speedway, man. And I'll tell you what, man.
That's right.
That little press box up there, man. That place gets, you guys get a lot of people in that little box up there, man.
Oh, yeah. When I'm not racing, I try to go out there and announce for them. And mostly it's just because I'm bored and I'm not racing anywhere else, so I might as well go watch a race, right?
Yeah,
and,
sure.
Yeah, you know, they've got like 4 scorers up there, the treasurer's up there trying to fill out checks. And then there was me, you, my daughter was up there. Yeah. There was
it was fun, though.
10 by 10 box.
Didn't the lights go out, too? And then you're like, who the hell is that over there? Tell them to get the lights going.
Actually, was that the night that the guy in the stock car lost control and took out the guide wire for the light pole?
No, it was after, but that night it was happening, though. I mean, that night, the lights kept going on and off. And I just remember the whole, on the walkie-talkie, you know, everybody's kind of having an issue, who's doing what, who's doing this and that, you know. And then I was trying to interview you at the same time. I could tell I was like getting little words from here and there, you know. But you know who actually kind of kept everything going was Joshua Jackson there. You know, every time that, you know, when we had a break there, I'd always bring Josh in there, and he would be talking with me, you know. Josh, for our audience out there, a couple of years ago, Josh had a very unfortunate accident down at Southern New Mexico Speedway there. And, you know, he recovered, got back in the car, is racing now again. But, you know, just having him talk on the air, that was pretty cool, man, to get Josh on the air.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, he got in a sprint car the Saturday after the fire, he got back in a sprint car at practice.
He did?
He did. He just went out and hot lapped it and, you know, had a lot of fun. I asked him, I said, well, you ready to get back in? And he says, no, there's too many things in my life I want to do before I get back in a sprint car.
Oh man, I'll tell you what though. You know what? The sprint cars, they are different animal there. Just hearing people there, you know. I mean, me and Darren, you know, we're pretty much a sprint car armchair quarterbacks. Ain't that right, Darren?
I mean, I'm not going to tell anyone how to drive a sprint car because I don't have the balls to get into one. But I am definitely a more of a sprint car fan than anything else. But I love anything that is running out there. Those guys, sprint car drivers, tend to get to me a lot of the publicity, obviously. But man, those guys out there, modifieds, are always killing it. Even the guys in like the like you said, the cruisers, the stock cars, those guys, you give them the right track, they'll go out there, they'll be four wide, beating and banging off of each other. It's fun times out there.
For sure.
Oh yeah.
For sure. You know, hey Gary, you know what I ask you here is last time I was talking to you at the Speedway there, we kind of just talked about what was going on in racing there. But let us know, where did Gary Guinn, where did you grow up at? How did you get into a car the very first time, man?
So I actually grew up in Bosque Farms, New Mexico. And back in the 60s, there used to be this little racetrack up in Espanola, New Mexico, right? Espanola Raceway. And my grandparents actually ran the racetrack for the last 5 years it was open. And then it got shut down. It was on tribal land, and I don't know all the details and in and outs of exactly why it got shut down. But it got shut down. My dad kept getting kicked out of school, so they moved down to Los Lunas and Bosque Farms area, hoping that if he wasn't around his cousins, he might do better in school. And ended up dropping out anyway. But he helped a guy named Richard Johnson build his first stock car. And he used to go pit for Richard all the time. And I used to sit on Richard's wife, Anna, her lap. I was probably 1-2 years old sitting on her lap. And I knew right then and there I wanted to drive race cars. And people would ask me when I was like 3, you know, hey, Gary, what are you going to do when you grow up? And I'd say, oh, I'm going to be a truck driver, a mechanic, and a race car driver. And they'd say, well, how in the hell are you going to do all that? And I said, well, easy. I'll work on my own truck and my own race car because I'll be a mechanic. I'll load my race car into my trailer, and I'll drive to the next racetrack. And they all thought that was kind of crazy coming from a 3-year-old, you know? And anyway, so my mom and dad split up. I stopped going to the races because my mom and dad had split up. But I still wanted to race. But being in Bosque Farms, there's not a whole lot to do. Got into bull riding, realized that hurts no matter whether you stay on or fall off. It still hurts. And I wasn't very good at that either. So I said, you know what? Let's try race cars. So I washed dishes at the age of 15 for like 2 months at a Chinese food restaurant. And to this day, I still can't go into a Chinese food restaurant without wanting to gag. But wash dishes.
Oh, man. Don't
wash
tell me
dishes there. Oh, no, it's just some people put some weird stuff on their sweet and sour pork and shit, you know, and it just makes for a funky deal when you're the guy washing the dishes. So anyway, worked there for a while, bought my first race car, spent 3 years of mowing lawns and odd jobs and summer jobs to get enough money to get it all together so I could go race it. Started racing in 2003 at Duke City Raceway. Didn't even have a driver's license yet. So I raced the car there. And then from there, I got convinced by Bob Sandy and his grandfather to go race asphalt. Figured out real quick, asphalt's not for me. I didn't like the sound of the tires squealing going into the corners. Went off to the Marines, came back, still had a race car. So I said, well, shit, let's build this race car again. So I built the race car back up, started racing at Hollywood Hills in 2008. 2009, I built a street stock, well, a hobby stock at the time. Raced there till they shut down. Then went and raced in Grants the rest of 2009 and 2010. 2011, I raced at Sandia Speedway on the dirt track. And then decided I was tired of driving stock cars. I was going to go drive an X-Mod because there was more adjustability and they went faster. And realized just how finicky those modifieds really are and just how easily damaged they really are. I think I finished like 4 main events in 3 years. And it was rough, man. God, it was rough. And finally, I said, you know what, I'm done racing unless I can find something that's more fun. So I got the mini sprint, and I was like, well, this will be cool, you know. And raced that for about a season. drove the wife's cruiser for about half a season, and then got a phone call that, hey, there's a guy who's got a sprint car he wants to sell for $1,200 as a roller. I said, well, my wife was in Michigan at the time visiting her family, so I said, well, shit, I can afford that. So I drove to Aztec, bought her a sprint car, and she wasn't there to tell me no, so, and, you know, and next thing you know, all my commission checks are going to shocks and a motor and all this stuff, and she's bitching and complaining that, hey, we're not paying down bills over here. And I said, it's okay. Those bills will still be there, babe. I want to go race the sprint car. So we tried a sprint car last year, and, you know, and I wouldn't say we necessarily had a lot of success. You know, we went to the track 5 times and got to race 3 times. We had fuel problems 2 of the times, found out just how finicky a barrel valve could be. And then from there, you know, I was pretty much hooked on sprint cars. And, you know, it's the funnest thing you can possibly drive because it's completely out of control and you have to drive it that way. Otherwise, it just doesn't want to go. So.
So it sounds like for you, racing is all about whatever the most fun that you can have on a Saturday night. What has been the most fun that you've had at a racetrack or a particular race?
Oh, the most fun I've ever had, hands down, was at Uranium Capital Speedway in a street stock. And what made it the most fun was there's a guy out there who'd won the championship like 12 years in a row named George Bazin. And I went up to George. I said, look, George, I've got the same motor you've got because we had the same motor builder, and he told me we've got the same motor. So I'm running the same gear you told me to run, same tranny you told me to run, same springs you told me to run, same shocks you told me to run. I said, but no matter what happens, George, at the center of the corner, you pull me by, like, you know, an entire car length off the center. I don't get it. So he went over and he showed me some secrets, and I went back out the next weekend. I was leading the heat race, and he passed me like I was sitting still on the top. So I jumped on his back bumper and followed him around there, and he showed me how hard I could run that car in with that setup on the bottom, on the top, exit, wherever. You know, we used the whole racetrack that day in the heat race. So the main event came, and I bet you me and him switched the lead probably 80 times. No joke. If he was leading going into the corner, I was leading coming out. And about halfway through the race, I saw a yellow car spin another yellow car. And I asked my ex-wife, at the time my wife, I said, hey, Nikki, who spun who out over there? And where were they running? And she told me their names, and she said, well, they were running 3rd and 4th. And we were a whole half a track ahead at halfway. And anyway, I ended up finishing 2nd to George that night, but we never once touched, and we were within inches of each other every single time we'd make a pass. Never once touched. He got out of the car hacking and gagging, and he says, damn, I should have never taught you how to set up that race car. That's the hardest I've ever had to work to win. And after that, boy, we had a whole lot of fun. But that one night sticks out as the funnest night in my memory because, you know, it was the George and Gary show, and I mean, we put on a show. And it was fun.
Man. George is fast, too. Once you see him bringing that, his what kind of truck does he have in that record truck? What year is that?
I believe it's a 34 Dodge with a Cummins in it, and he built it into a tow truck and actually did all the fabricating himself, did all the welding himself, did all that stuff himself. And you know, he tows his race car out there just about every Saturday night.
Yeah. Once you see him coming in, you're like, oh, man, here it is. The man's coming in right now, you know? Everybody's shooting for that, you know?
If you get there before him, but hell, he's there at like 2 o'clock on Saturdays, so it's hard to get there before George, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And he's like 4 foot nothing with long hair.
Yeah, he's like Darren Ward. That's like Darren Ward. You're describing Darren Ward here right now. So, Gary,
we call George the dirt track Yoda.
The dirt track Yoda. Okay, now every time I see him, I'm gonna just start laughing now, man. He's gonna go. But remember Yoda when he fought Darth Vader in the younger days there, man. He was spinning around everywhere. So yeah, Yoda could kick some ass there, man.
Well, George has this famous line that well, we're on. I can cuss, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So George walks up one day and he says, "You know, candy will rot your brain and pussy will rot your teeth." And he pulled his teeth out.
Oh my God, man! Good thing I still have all my teeth.
That's the kind of humor you get from that old man, you know.
Yeah. That's too funny, man. So what's coming up for Gary next, man? What are we looking at? Are you going to the big opening down at Vado Speedway, which everybody's kind of waiting for, tiptoeing around here?
Well, you know, we planned to. And at this point, it's kind of playing it by ear on what we've got. So if I go down there to run, it's a 305 deal. You know, between now that I'm a member here, I guess you could say, of Moser Racing, you know, we've only got a limited number of 305s. So if we go down there to race, it probably won't be me running. It'll probably be either Jason or Jerry running the 305 in their car. So I probably won't be racing down there, unfortunately, since we're going to focus on the wing stuff this season. But I will be racing at San Diego. And if my balls drop and I don't clinch the middle of the seat with my ass too much, then we might try to go race an ASCS race. But I doubt that we'll go out for an ASCS race this year. Probably wait for next year.
Well, you know, so this year here, as far as learning, what's the biggest obstacle right now? Are you facing right now getting in the car?
The biggest obstacle I'm facing right now getting in the car is the motor. Once we have the motor that I've been given, once I go get it and we have it gone through, then there won't be any more obstacles on that end. As far as, you know, if I run Jerry's 305, the biggest obstacle there then is just a trailer, but he's got like three or four flatbed trailers, so I'll just tow out on a flatbed trailer and pit next to him, so that way he's got everything. You know, but yeah, we've got this season. We're going to be kind of bone spare and borrowing parts for everything on the sprint car because, of course, the shocks that I got with the car are just shocks that they put on it so it have shocks, you know.
Yeah,
and they're not really the shocks you need to race with. I've got a total of 8 wheels and tires between both cars and 8 shocks between both cars. So it's not really like I've got a whole lot of spare parts or anything like that. So I'm going to be borrowing a lot of stuff from a lot of people. But, you know, I think in the end, it's just a matter of time. And, you know, the wife supports us racing, you know, but at the same time, she's got the baby on the way that's going to be here in the next couple of weeks. So,
for sure.
You know, that could also put a little bit of a damper on how quick we get back out too, you know.
Yeah. Well, remember last year I kept bugging you. I was like, Gary, are you going to run the show next year? Are you going to be Dirty Tires Racing co-host next year? Gary, are you going to be the co-host next year, Gary? I guess we're going to have to wait again, man. What's up with that?
Hey, you know, if you need me to fill in for Darren because Darren's off doing something, you just let me know.
Yeah, you know, because sometimes he does go rob banks. So that's his origin there. Yeah. But we won't say it. Nobody's
well, you got to support the racing habit some way, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
The joke is he kids into racing because they'll never be able to afford drugs.
That's for sure.
I told my wife, this point, a cocaine habit would have been cheaper, you know?
It definitely would. You know, man, could you imagine me if I was on cocaine without being in the race car here either?
No, I can't.
That'd be kind of scary there, man.
It'd be super scary.
Well, you know what? This year, what we plan to do here is, as far as commentary goes, as Dirty Tires Racing, I'm going to stay out of the politics this year. Last year, I got fucking my ass kicked. I got my ass handed to me all last year with everything that went along with this. So this year, I was like, let those guys have it. Let them fight among themselves. Let them do all that stuff. What I want to do this year is be more in the pits this year. I want to get more of the pit crew involved this year. You know, talk to the pit crews, because I always talk about how they're the offensive lineman of the NFL. You know, Tom Brady, 6 Super Bowls, but you know, people forget about his linemen that got him there. You know, so that's what I want to concentrate this year.
One thing I can promise you, and anyone listening, is that races are never won at the racetrack. Races are always won in the garage, and they're lost at the racetrack. So you could give a driver the absolute best car in the world, and if he makes one mistake, your race day is done. It's over with. So races are definitely won in the garage and lost at the track. And it's the guys that, whether it's the driver doing it or whether he's got a crew doing it, but the people that are maintaining that car and setting up that car are the people who are really putting the driver in the winner's circle. And, you know, at our level of racing, it's usually the driver right there. There's not very many guys at the local level have a car owner, right? They're their own car owner. Mm-hmm. And usually it's them that are doing the work. But at the same time, there are guys, once you get up into late models and sprint cars, and even some of the modified guys who drive for somebody else. And they drive for somebody else for a multitude of reasons, you know, but a lot of times it's the driver, the guys who are doing the work that are making sure that that's a winning car for the driver. So I like your idea of being in the pits and talking to crews and stuff, but they probably won't give you their speed secrets and their setup advice. You know,
I doubt that.
They'll explain some stuff to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what? Everything would be kind of like I don't want it to like get in their way or anything too. So that's the other thing that, you know, I kind of have to watch out for. You know, I mean, the last thing they want is some big, huge Navajo guy in the way there and asking them about, hey, how do you run your car? You know, what do you got set up today? So, but this year, you know, that's what I plan to do this year. That's what we're gonna focus more on this year instead of going up into the press box there like we did the past couple years. But don't get me wrong, if we do get offered, you know, to go up there, if announcer isn't there, you know, I'll try to step in, you know. But again, that's where we're supposed to have Gary.
That's right. Well, like I said, that 4th of July show at Uranium Capital Speedway, it's their I think it's their 50th anniversary show. They're trying to make that a big deal. So I told them one way or another, whether I had a car or what was going on, I would be there in some way, shape, or form. Whether I was racing, had someone racing a car, I would announce whatever they needed for it. So I'll definitely be there for that.
Okay, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. I don't know where I'm going to be for 4th of July. If I don't know what's going on that weekend there, Darren. Is ASCS racing?
They usually have a race at ET that weekend. I don't know the exact date, but they're usually racing that weekend.
I'll see where I'm at that weekend. If everything falls like in place there, maybe I'll just join you out there, man. And we'll get the station out there. We'll help out with that, man, for sure.
Yeah, and if ASCS is racing, I may end up. Well, I don't know. We'll have to wait and play that out by ear. I'm planning on being in France, but we'll see what happens. You never know.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Gary, you know what? I don't want to.
Who knows, man? I might be really good in the wing cars. Shit, we don't know.
We have to find it. Yeah, so that's the part. Maybe while you're driving, you can commentate while you're driving, while you're texting. That's the only time you text and drive is in a race car, right?
That's right. Text and drive in the race car.
You know what? I still need to get a GoPro camera. I keep asking Darren, what kind of GoPro camera? He tells me the same one. Get this one. For the past year, he's been telling me over and over. I still haven't got one yet. But I think this year, Gary, it would be pretty cool to put a camera in your car just to watch some of these.
Let's do it.
You know, yeah, because I think a lot of people, they get kind of intimidated by a car because when you put a GoPro camera, you put it in like a Jesse Baker's car, an R.J. Johnson's car, where they're on top of the game there and they're winning the races there. But I'm pretty sure some people kind of want. I'm not saying they're going to mess up. I mean, some of the common mistakes that can be fixed, right?
Yeah, I mean, shit. One way or another, get a camera in there. Shit, I'll run it. I don't care. People can laugh at it. I don't care. If I'm slow, I'm slow. I don't give a shit.
Well, people laugh at me all the time, so yeah. I think it's because of my big red shoes or my big red nose there. So But both of our big green noses will be fine, man.
You let
There
me
you
know
go.
when that. You let me know when the first race is, and I will. I'll get you a camera.
There you go.
There you go.
You got it.
Right there. That sounds good, man. That sounds good. Well, hey, Gary, you know what? Again, we don't want to hold you up too much longer here. Darren's got a little one, too. He's going to attend to here. We're going to go through our schedules here right now, let everybody know what's going on coming up here this weekend here, and what we're going to be, what Dirty Tires Racing is going to be doing this year, too, as well. So we have a lot of places we're going to be hitting this year here in the West Texas area that we haven't hit in the past 2 years here. So, but, hey, Gary, I wish you the best of luck for the season here. I know I'm going to be talking to you on a regular basis here. I know you'll be talking in with us here this year many, many times here, brother.
You got it, man. Anytime.
For sure. Hey, you got any shout-outs there to any sponsors, any friends out there?
Oh, yeah, I got to hit them up. So
Yes.
I've had some long-term sponsors, and I got to thank them. Kerr Squared, one of the best fabricating companies in New Mexico. Imperial Vapors down in Las Lunas, New Mexico. They do ship, and they do have a website. So if you're looking for any vaping needs, you can go to them, and they will ship it to you. You can buy everything online. D&B Auto Colors, who does a great job painting the race cars for me, especially touch-up work for all the dealerships around Albuquerque. This year we've got a couple new ones. We got Car Crafters that's going to help us out. They're going to paint the black car of Jesse Baker's white for me. And then Mosier Racing, Mosier Enterprises, because they're giving me a place to keep the car, work on the car, and parts to help me get going. So it's going to be a good year, I think.
I think so, too. I think it's going to be awesome there. Hell yeah. I appreciate that, Gary. I appreciate that, brother. So, guys, Gary Guinn, if you guys missed this interview, or guys really joining us, we should have this interview on YouTube within the next couple of days here. That way you guys can listen to it again. And then we'll be playing it throughout the week here and to let everybody re-listen to the interview again. So, other than that, guys, Gary Guinn, thank you, Gary. Hey, guys, we'll be back with Darren Ward here. We're going to talk a little bit of schedules coming up for the 2019 season. Coming up here now, guys, we got some Request and Accept, some Aerosmith Magic Touch, and Heaven's Edge. Only on the station that rocks the nation. A Steele, a Savage, radio, yeah, ow! Attention race teams, attention race car drivers, and attention race fans. What a great opportunity that 26 Promotions has for everyone out there in the racing industry. 26 Promotions is the perfect fit for any racer who is looking to get that same marketing opportunities as some of the biggest names in motorsports at a fraction of the cost. From press releases to social media managing, 26 Promotions is the easiest decision that any driver can make. 26 Promotions and Darren Ward. Make sure you guys go check out 26 Promotions on social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, and also Instagram. 26 Promotions.
SSRLive.com, WCJFWC.com, Res Radio Rock, 90.3 FM, native voltage.
The id, the ego, and now
Now crank it up, Steele, set it, radio, and let's rock.